Otherwise, I'd have to bring you down to earth too. I know this verse hurts you. I tell you what, I give you advice. I'm feeling nice. Your vices could influence your writing if you weren't biting. Y'all trying to be people that...
Well, let's talk about NXT from August the 24th, 2021. So this episode of NXT was very good. They were starting fresh. Like, there was some stuff that was still going on, but there was more progress taking place. So let's get right into it. So Cameron Grimes comes out, him and Ted DiBiase, and they talk about going to the moon and everything is great. And this is what Ted DiBiase always saw out of Cameron Grimes. That's what he wanted to bring out. And him trolling Cameron Grimes before it was just a test. He wanted to show Cameron Grimes that, money was going to his head and he needed to focus on what was important. That was the entire goal. Cameron Grimes then shoots money into the air, into the CWC, so everybody can have some. And it's Cameron Grimes cash with his own face on it. Needless to say, people were already selling this stuff for $30. I did see the tweet. I forget one of these wrestling websites were showing that people are selling these Cameron Grimes dollars for like $30 a piece. So these are collector's items. They're trying to cash in on these joints. Anyway, later in the show, Cameron Grimes is being very nice, and he says, "Look, Ted, this dang old $1 million championship, it belongs to you. It's your legacy. It belongs to you." He gives him the belt, and then Ted says, "No. You earned it. You won it." Gives it back to him. Then Cameron Grimes notices that the belt is a replica. So Ted DiBiase laughs at him and drives off. I love this. Now, I have always been, I think for the last 3 weeks at least, I've been sitting here talking about how Ted DiBiase should not be the babyface. And it turns out that he's not. He had these guys going through all this shit for a replica title. Now, it's entirely possible that just the belt that Cameron Grimes has is a replica, and that maybe the real title was out there at some point. But we know right now that Cameron Grimes is carrying a replica. That belt is worthless. And that the real legacy of the $1 Million Man was the lessons he learned along the way. The long con that him and LA Knight went through. And I think that it makes sense. Like, if you go back through the story, Ted DiBiase was actually supposed to bow out of the story when LA Knight won the title. He was actually going to be like, you represented the $1 Million Man, and he was actually going to bow out. It wasn't until LA Knight attacked him and that he started kind of using Cameron Grimes to get his revenge. So that added some layers to the story that might not be there before. And I found it to be very interesting. I did see some people that was pretty upset about it. Like, oh, the title didn't mean anything the whole time. I was like, look, it's the $1 Million Championship. They bring it in, they get rid of it. They bring it in, they get rid of it. It's not going to be a permanent fixture. It never was going to be. So I thought this was an interesting way of doing it by having Ted DiBiase play this trick on Cameron Grimes. It's kind of a mean trick because you put this guy through hell, and now he doesn't even get the real prize to go along with it. And it still taught him a very valuable lesson about, staying true to yourself, focus on what's important. It's not about the money. It's about excellence. And that's what he's been trying to teach people the whole time, about being the $1 Million Man and being the $1 Million Champion. So Cameron Grimes learned his lesson. He just didn't get a physical trophy. So interesting. Very interesting stuff. I wonder who came up with that. It was pretty ingenious. I liked it. The first match was Ridge Holland versus Timothy Thatcher. And these two guys was working. They did pretty good. Thatcher is a great worker. He's a little awkward, but he's a great worker. Holland, of course, is very green, but he's a big dude. He's doing big dude stuff, taking a beating. Ridge Holland wins with, I think, like the snowplow like move that he uses. Ciampa then jumped him after the match. Danny Burch made his re-debut. So now the heels outnumber the babyface is 3-2. Pete Dunne is out there as well, so now it's 4-2. And Thatcher gets taken out by Holland, who jammed the stick. I forget what they called it. They jammed it in his throat, the baton. And on Twitter it says that he was out indefinitely. So that's not good. That's completely not good. Are they? There's a lot of NXT people disappearing. That's and they keep saying that the cuts are not done. And that's the first time I was kind of like, wait a minute. You know, he got hit in the throat. Now all of a sudden, what's happening here? I started thinking like Nick Khan, but I guess we'll see. He should. It might just be a thing where they trying to write him out for the taped episodes, and he'll come back when it's live again or something like that. We'll never know. We won't know anytime soon. All right, so then we get Carmelo Hayes. He's going to talk about the breakout tournament finals. And he's talking about, having to face bigger men throughout the entire tournament. Now, he's not an underdog. He's an overdog. I cringe whenever somebody says something like that. It's like in the hood when they also talk about, you can't understand, man. You got to overstand. You feel me? You got to overstand this. You got to overstand this. So they're like, man, come on. You're thinking too hard. When you saying like, I'm an overdog, not an underdog. I'm going to overstand these messages. You a god and all that kind of stuff. You overthinking it. Just bring it down. Understand it makes perfect sense. So he starts talking about being an overdog, and he is who he is because he can back it up, and that Jones is everything that you would want in a guy my size, but he's 400 pounds, and he's real dangerous. So later, Odyssey Jones is just smiling. He's just happy to be there. He's talking about, this is a big challenge for him and that he played college football and he always knew he would be in the WWE. And Odyssey to him means high energy all the time. And I was just kind of like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. Him being big, fat, and jolly is not going to work. That's not going to work at all. That's disgusting. You got to get rid of that. Somebody going to have to step on his shoes, or steal his lunch or something like that in order to get this guy where he needs to be. I don't mean he needs to be big, bad all the time, but we went through this with Thick Boy already. Fat and jolly does not work, right? Nobody cares about the fat dude who's jolly and, wants to get the crowd hype. Nobody cares about that guy. That guy's a joke. That's tugboat shit. You don't want to be tugboat, all right? You want to at least be early years Earthquake, early years Yokozuna. That's what you're aiming for. Bam Bam Bigelow. You shouldn't be Vader. Don't shoot to be Tugboat or the fat dude in the oddities. That's not what you want to be. Trust me. You don't want to be that. That's bad. You don't want to be Funkasaurus. Okay, you don't want that. You do not want that for your gimmick. You're dead in the water if that happens. So, since we're on the subject, Carmelo Hayes defeats Odyssey Jones in the breakout tournament finals. It seemed like Odyssey Jones was going to cakewalk this match because they really booked it in a way, or written the match in a way, where Carmelo Hayes really couldn't do much of anything to hurt him. And then it was kind of weird because they had this front face lock that was on. You would think that guy the size of Odyssey Jones would be able to get out of front face lock, but he had this front face lock on him for 3 minutes. And I got to the point, I'm one of those 80s wrestling guys, okay, he's going to grab a hold and work it. Even I was getting frustrated, are you serious? You trying to tell me this gigantic black dude can't get out of a front face lock? You're not going to make it in this business, kid, if you can't get out of a front face lock. But, of course, they were just working it because the entire story is that he was trying to find some way of wearing Jones down, and the front face lock was working to cut off his breathing and all that kind of stuff. So I got it, but it was still kind of whack. There was a shoulder breaker in this match that was very stiff. Man, that was a hell of a shoulder breaker. Ooh boy, that was a hell of a shoulder breaker. So Odyssey Jones tries a pretty arrogant cover and ends up getting countered into a crucifix and pinned. They shake hands afterwards, and then we get the presentation of the contract where he won the breakout tournament. Now he can challenge for any title that he wants in NXT. And he was asked, of course, by some pretty young microphone holder who I don't know her name. I've never seen her before. He said, I don't think so. She was cute, though. In any event, uh, wait a minute, what was I thinking about? Okay, so Carmelo Hayes was, asked about which championship he's going to challenge for, and he said it's too early to tell because obviously, for obvious reasons, they're not going to hot shot him to the main event, which they did it once already. But but he's on when he take his shot, he not gonna miss or something like that. And they really celebrated this whole thing about him winning the tournament. Just to speculate a little bit, I do believe that the best match would be Swerve versus Hayes. That's the best match. I think they could kill it, But why would you waste your, absolute, you can wrestle the champion whenever you want? Why would you waste that on a North American title? Why not go straight for Samoa Joe? I know Joe is a badass. He's supposed to be scary and all that, but you only get one shot, and you won the tournament. I'm like, hey, might as well go for the big dog. I think he should go for the NXT title, and if you're gonna beat him. But just to have great match with Swerve, he's probably not gonna win that title either. So I don't see the point. Might as well go ahead and go with Samoa Joe, right? Now Odyssey Jones losing was of course a surprise. I think personally that he probably on his way to Raw or SmackDown anyway. He was one of these guys that have been doing a lot of dark matches lately. And because he's been doing a lot of dark matches, he ain't really been involved in NXT. This tournament is really the only thing he's ever done. And it's looking like he might fall out of place. There might be a place for him as, if he's going to be a babyface on Raw. It might be a nice little place for him on Raw. Because they need babyfaces so bad on Raw. And it seemed like, that might be good for him. But if he stays in NXT, that's good too. I ain't got no problem with that. So let's move on to the next thing. Index is getting married. Their wedding date is September the 14th, 2021. And it's a Tuesday, so they're getting married on NXT. They have t-shirts now. It's all terrible. The invite looks dope, though. Like, the amount of art that they're using in NXT now is actually pretty interesting. Dexter Lumis drew the invitations. So that was pretty sweet. My favorite thing about this, I can't believe I'm going to say this, was Johnny Gargano going to William Regal to try to get the wedding canceled. They were bickering back and forth about, this is good TV. No, this is great. This is bad TV. This is good TV. Bad TV. Good TV. Bad TV. And, Johnny Gargano was trying his best to stop this marriage. And, it makes sense because, he's been against it from the beginning. So I'm okay with this. Him and LA Knight had a little issue because LA Knight was in the room too. Now they're gonna have this heel versus heel match, but I'm guessing they're threatening to turn Gargano babyface. I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing with Gargano. He's just kind of been existing on this roster since he lost his title. All right, so second match on the card: Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter versus Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter win with the 450 neckbreaker finish. And then they called out the tag team champions, Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. So at the end of the match, this match was kind of sloppy, if we're being honest. JC Jane and Gigi Dolan are fairly new. JC Jane, I know, is, I keep trying to remember what her name was in Evolve. I think it was Alicia Taylor. Was it? Or Alicia Tyler. Or something like that. She was in Evolve. I know the Gigi Dolan is like a regular on the Independence. But so they have some work to do. What I found particularly interesting is that after they lost, they were pretty disappointed walking the halls, and then they stumbled upon Mandy Rose. And Mandy Rose said to them, well, I know you if you guys don't want to feel this way, come with me. And they sort of followed her. And I was like, what the hell is Mandy Rose's record of success? She died. She didn't win anything. I know she was in a tag team for a long time and didn't do anything. But I guess you're not supposed to. That's like one of those SpongeBob lighting fire underwater questions. Like, we're supposed to just be like, Mandy Rose is on the main roster for years. She probably has some tricks and different kinds like that she can teach them. But when you look at like her resume, it's not like she's like a world champion or like won anything. Mandy Rose is like the woman who's been on the roster the longest and won nothing. No Money in the Bank, no world title, no tag team title, nothing. I don't think Mandy Rose did one big match, and that's when she beat Sonya Deville to get Sonya Deville packing from SmackDown. That's the biggest match she's ever won. I don't believe Mandy Rose has done anything else. Her qualifications to be a manager, a counselor, a coach, a mentor, an advisor, all of those things. She has none of the credentials to do so. But I'm willing to play along because it's NXT. And at the end of the day, who cares? So that was good. Raquel Gonzalez cut a promo, basically said that, she doesn't think this thing with Dakota Kai is over. I'm pretty sure it is because Dakota Kai is likely going to get moved to Raw or SmackDown. But then she says that she's not concerned with Kaylee Ray, and she's been waiting on Kaylee Ray to make the jump to NXT for a while now, and that she's been waiting to get her hands on her. So then all of a sudden, here comes Frankie Monet. Frankie Monet appears and says, like, look, I don't wait in lines. I skipped the line, and I was still your shine and your championship. Now, I think that Frankie Monet is a good opponent for Raquel Gonzalez. If she's the one to beat Raquel Gonzalez, I wouldn't mind it, if we're being honest. I don't think Raquel is ready to lose. I think that she's just now getting to the point where she has to wrestle the women who are more experienced than she is. And her winning those matches is more important than, we need to put somebody else over. I think that, her being in the ring with Taya, a.k.a. Frankie Monet, would be a great learning experience. What do you do with Frankie Monet if she loses? I don't know. I don't know. The same thing with Kaylee Ray. Like, what do you do with Kaylee Ray if she beats Raquel Gonzalez? But Raquel Gonzalez is the least experienced person. This NXT is built for somebody like her, so you have to do something. You got to do something. So I'm okay with her feuding with either one of them. I just don't like the idea of taking the belt from her without her getting those lessons. And sure, she could feud with one of them without the belt, but it's less intense that way. I think you need the intensity of the title being on the line. They did a little vignette for Kaylee Ray because, most people don't watch NXT UK. They have no idea who that is. Then they had her first match. She wrestled Valentina Feroz. Now, Valentina Feroz, when she was on the screen, her facial expression, I was just like, she looks like something stinks in the rave, but she's having too much fun to do anything about it. So she's got like her face crunched up. And then when she started to work, like just moving around, I was very impressed. I was impressed by her agility, but I was more impressed by her aggression. She really went in there and got after it. So as far as like throwing strikes, even though her elbow strikes did not look very good, she was willing to get in there and really like throw some stuff. And I appreciated that. Like I was making fun of her at first because she looked weird, but then I was like, okay, you know what? I can respect this. I think she's a soccer player or something like that from Brazil. She has the Eva Valkyrie feathers on her gear. She had blue and white feathers. She had a unique look. Her agility was very impressive. I think she might have something. Maybe she'll have something. She was killing the rolls though. Her rolls were great. She loses to the Gory Bomb. I was very impressed with Valentina Feroz. So then we get our Samoa Joe schmaz where he talks about being the king of the savages and that he knows that everybody's after him, so he dares somebody to come out. And then here comes our boy Pete Dunne. I don't care how many times you've been the champion. You're not the baddest man in NXT. And so then here comes LA Knight, called everybody dummies, said that he could have dusted Karrion Kross in 43 seconds. Yeah. Then here comes Kyle O'Reilly. He makes some pretty failed jokes about LA Knight's Stone Cold Steve Austin jacket. Said he wanted to fight. Then the good old boys, I have no idea what they're calling themselves, the British guys, jumped in, and it was, everybody started fighting. Dunn, Holland just, put work in on Kyle O'Reilly. He just mauled them. And of course they backed down from Ciampa and Joe, who were working together. And so we got this little interesting thing where Pete Dunne now has his little crew. He's probably going to be, the first competitor to stand up to Samoa Joe. I'm cool with that. They did a decent job with Dunne, and now it makes sense that he beat Ilya Dragunov a couple of weeks ago. It still doesn't. It still was stupid, if we're being honest. Because Dragunov then went on to win, so it wasn't smart to beat Dragunov in that environment. But at the same time, now that I know that Dunn's going to be the first opponent, I'm okay. I'm more okay with it than I was, But he really should be Ilya's first opponent. Like, Dragunov should get that win back. And maybe that's what he's still in America. That's probably what he's going to end up doing. Who knows when the hell he's going back to Europe. That's going to be something else. So that was all good. Following this, Kyle O'Reilly was pretty mad. He was in the back steaming. All of a sudden, he gets into it with Duke Hudson. Duke Hudson said something to him I really couldn't hear. I really wasn't paying that close attention at the time. But I did pay attention when Kyle O'Reilly smacked him. And then Duke Hudson grabbed him like a small child and bashed his head against the metal lockers. And I was like, why he couldn't do that to Johnny Gargano? Like, look, Kyle O'Reilly is cool and all, but like, I think Johnny Gargano would be so much better to bash his head against the lockers. He just looked like a guy who you bash against the lockers. Like a Napoleon Dynamite kind of dude where you just kind of take his lunch money and take his tater tots and stuff like that, right? Anyway, Kyle O'Reilly fought back, and they fought ferociously in this really tight aisleway. And I was like, I like this. Kyle O'Reilly is fighting mad, talking about he wants to fight Duke Hudson. And I think we can all agree Duke Hudson is going to win this match, right? No, he's not going to win. But he probably should, but he's walking around in sandals. You never fight a man who's walking around in sandals because you can't trust him. All right, so the next segment that I can think of, Boa. All right, Boa. So you got Boa. He has his Tian Sha entrance. And he's, wrestling some guy named Zion Quinn, who is really Daniel Vidot. He looks like something Frank Miller drew out of a comic book. Not bad looking guy. I kind of recognize that he might be somebody. But he, of course, got the jobber entrance and everything. They got into a scrap. Boa wins the scrap. Mei Ying got her respect. Boa turned to Mei Ying, was completely distracted. He turned around, boom, got, flying elbowed in the face. Boa gets pinned. Boa loses. The job guy beats Boa. Boa's been in NXT forever. Hold on, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Mei Ying is upset, so she stands up. Zion Quinn takes his leave. And like, well, I won my match, so who cares about this rest of this crap? And he took off. And Boa is standing there, holding his jaw, staring at Mei Ying, disappointed in himself. Back to what I was saying. Boa has been in NXT a long time. But I like the idea of, I didn't hate this. The reason I didn't hate this is because NXT had not done enough with Boa to be upset about. He's been there. He went through the rigorous training with Xia Li. They got rid of her. Now it seems like Boa's on the chopping block too. Even though they got rid of her, they moved her on. I don't know if she's been released yet. But she hasn't shown up on TV. But they had her doing dark matches. And people doing dark matches, it's either going to go one way or the other. Either you're going to be pulled from NXT to go to Raw or SmackDown, or you're going to get the axe. So we don't know yet. It looks like Mei Ying may actually start to do something now. And that's what makes it interesting to me, is because now you have, for a long time, Mei Ying's just been sitting in the chair. She hasn't been doing anything. Now she's standing up. She was getting involved by blowing smoke and doing things like that. It's like maybe now she's going to actually get physical, like, or is it going to be some type of punishment for Boa for losing? So now Tian Sha is getting some character development because this is the, when Xia Li lost one match, she disappeared. Now Boa has lost. What's going to happen to him? And that's really kind of what's the question that I have in my mind. Malcolm Bivens showed us that Roderick Strong was teaching a class with some guys who apparently need help, and said they're going to be having an open challenge next week, and that Kushida is dodging them. And what's going on? Why is Kushida not there? That's a good question. What are they doing with Kushida? What are they doing? In any event, the main event fucking ruled. Legado del Fantasma versus Hit Row. And this match was very good. It was very good. We got some great power spots from Top Dollar. You got Ashanti Theodonis to show off some style. You got a little bit of everything from Swerve. You got the great teamwork of Legado del Fantasma. Santos Escobar was, bumping his ass off for Top Dollar to make him look good. If you weren't paying attention, go watch it again. How he was, working to make that guy look good. Of course, near the end, it turned into an indie match where a guy hits a 450, like a smooth 450, and Escobar kicks out. So, my favorite thing is B-Fab shoves Santos Escobar into the ring post. And because she's, an unanswered quantity as far as Hit Row is concerned, there's nothing for her to do. Then here comes Elektra Lopez. And she's just kind of standing there, and she looks suspicious. She looks like Luton Laney from the Good Times, right? And she wearing like this oversized coat, and she's just kind of holding this oversized coat very, very suspiciously. She gets some words from B-Fab. B-Fab then gets hit in the stomach with a pipe. It looked pretty good. It looked good. Elektra Lopez then tosses the pipe into the ring at Swerve. Swerve catches it. The referee is like, "What are you doing with this pipe?" And the referee was watching the whole time, by the way. The referee is like, "What are you doing with this pipe?" And Swerve is like, "Look, man, you just saw her throw this pipe to me, man." And then he gets rolled up from behind by Santos Escobar and pinned. So Legado del Fantasma wins the match, has a new member in Elektra Lopez, and now all is right with the world. I pitched Selena De La Renta, but Elektra Lopez would do just fine. And, I like this. Now, I'm all on board of NXT does things inverted. Like, they try to subvert tropes, which I hate. Sometimes just do the things right. Having Hit Row have more members on Legado del Fantasma from the beginning was wrong. I'm glad they rectified that, though. And so now things are a little bit better. Now we probably going to get to see B-Fab wrestle and get to see what she can do in the ring and as a personality. Also get to see what Elektra Lopez can do since she's been in NXT for quite a while now, apparently. So, this was great. And I'm a huge fan of everybody involved. And I didn't have anything to complain about. The match was awesome. We're probably going to run it back 4-on-4. And that'll be fine with me too. Or we still got the Escobar Swerve match to have. So it's all looking very good. So this NXT has been pretty solid. I noticed that NXT is starting to put together a lot of stables. You got Hit Row, you got Legado del Fantasma, you got Mandy Rose and her girls, you got Pete Dunne and his boys. So you got some stables running around here on NXT now. I would like Imperium is still there, but I don't think Walter is there anymore. But they need a reason to exist. They tried to tell us what the reason for Gigi Dolan and JC Jane is, but I don't quite remember. It seemed to be jumbled and makes no sense. Maybe Mandy Rose will actually give them a direction and give them a purpose. I'll be down for that. Oh, I forgot. You also got the Robert Stone brand, which is Frankie Monet, Jesse Kamea, and Robert Stone. So I'm interested in what they're doing with these stables. Some of these people need that mentorship, like Jesse Kamea. You also have groups that make perfect sense, like Hit Row and Legado del Fantasma. So hopefully we can develop these groups more. The problem with stables is that they very, very rarely develop the individual members within them. That's what I want to see more of. I want to see how the individuals in these groups are going to develop over time. And that's what I'm willing to give it time, because NXT is a school. So let's give it some time to see, but because they can't just be one person talking all the time. It has to be some other people doing things. That's what the good thing about The Way. The Way did a good job of individualizing everybody. They had their own thoughts, their own storylines, their own things to do. And it ended up being really good in the end. Even though I hate everybody about it, I hate the Garganos. It ended up being really good. So, and they won me over. So these stables will get the same chance, but I also want to see more of what they're doing. All right, like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why these